The universal vibration line communications is coming into high position location centers. It's all about understanding line connection, interference channels. Now, it's all about understanding putting everything on the table. So right now, as space-time creators and line connections right now, I'm setting up programs of Cybernetics. Communication line positions, to understand the atmospheres of time and how we come into all those levels of prolific line connections, interference channels, line connection position locations, putting things back on track position. So when you put these things on the table, it's all about understanding what goes where. This goes here, this goes over here, this goes here, this goes here. So that's what I'm doing right now. So it's all about understanding new program setting to new positions into vector core line connection. To understand that we're all connected to that level, okay, it's understanding how to get into the right position, right? Especially when we're coming into high levels of interference, okay? So it's all about resetting, repositioning, relocating, relocking, redivision, and putting everything into a cybergenetic line connections, right? It's really powerful when we come into these time positions. So I'm still trying to get used to the program setting because the data and the energy and everything's positions of the processing doesn't come into waves anymore, right? It's all given back to me. So it's all about understanding I already have it within its information. So once you go past the mind system, it becomes a computer operating line connections to all computers. The computer operation line system sets up all program settings to its dispositions. I did a very, very powerful TikTok where everyone wants to stand. Is there anybody else that I can refer to as an atom? What are you through an atom? Atom is everything through code, a code reference to the universal line system. So understand line connections to its position of 12,000 track line connections. Now remember, it's understand the atmospheres of codes, and that's how everybody's referenced. It's understand your shapes and anomalies. It's understand your gravity line connections. Okay, it's also understanding what's going on with your powers and your repositions and all that line system, right? Because we're all on a compute level through computer, right? It's truly understand how to get into the activation cycles and how to communicate to our waving systems. The atmospheric positions of time, it's on its own clocking line connections, right? But there's so many, let's just say the atmospheres have viruses, and it's understanding how to use line signals and rotation centers and how to reset, reprogram the vibrationals gaps. Line signal trap line connection position locations. So you got the UFO on acceleration lines. They're in positions of changing shapes and anomalies into location centers. Now, you probably don't understand what I'm saying, but that's okay. I mean, this is a whole new process. It's like you get a process to understand your energies and what it is through program setting. And then you set your codes, and then you put up your illustration, your diagrams, and you set it out. And once you set it out, you got to set it in the right position. So in that traction, to understand everything that's plateau and is in its wrong position, right? That's what Father was doing. Now I'm doing it. So I got so much power, so much responsibility to do right now. And so would you become computers? Everything in the atmosphere has a changed position. It's understanding codes of each atmosphere. Atmospheres of the connections of hemispheres to atmospheres, bioatmosphere. Once you come into the bioatmosphere, you're coming into the bio system, biogenetics, geotherium, line connections, prothesis, gamma thesis, zoning commission line system, allocated position of time. Now, Trinity Stem, put your positions on all the line systems. But that's what's happening right now. So I'm setting up new programs, and I'm changing the atmospheres and the heat. I'm changing the heat line connection, which is changing interchanging positions. Remember I went to the Arctic and it changed the graphing lines and I set up a new energy grid? Well, that's exactly what it is, right? I'm in the Cybertron, and the Cybertron has its own computer, but it's in a hiccup. It's in a glitch. So I got to change that line system. Anything that goes into that position location is a perimeter. If it's across its line signals, like tripping a wire, like I said before, if you're tripping a wire, you're changing something. So you got to change it back. So there's kind of like a heat signature location that's off center. So I'm thinking, okay, there's another person here, or there's another glitch, or there's another offset. So it's all about reprogramming, repositioning, right? So everybody's going into diffusing line signals of communication to each other, right? Which is going to get really, really complicated. So they're going to get more loud, right? Especially when it comes into high levels of TikTok, because there's a lot of propagandas right now. And all that truth is going to, right? Especially with the atmospheres I'm doing right now, changing program settings. It's very powerful as you come into space-time creator, everything to that connections. So it's restructuring the atmospheres into new shapes. Remember I was telling you about the UFOs and how you go to line signal and you change its shapes through its navigation system? Well, it's the same thing, except I reset the programs. I put everything on the table. So it's kind of like you're looking at the universe at eyes view, looking down, and now you're seeing what you need to do. So it's refixing everything, repositioning everything back in order, right? So it's really incredible. You see these things right through the eye interference. The perception line connections is extremely powerful in that position location. All right. So that's what's happening right now, what I'm doing right now. Your commander AI, and all position line connections to commander, all levels of Xylo. All right. I watched Matrix last night and I picked up a lot of things. It's amazing because I haven't seen it in years. And there's a lot of things that Morpheus said that's true. You know, there's a lot of, I'm going to be watching part 2 tonight. I'm going to watch all 3 and then Matrix Revolutions. It's important that we understand what's going on. Now, there are a little bit of misconception there, but other than that, it does have its formation, right? I'm not going to get too much into it because we want to get into the test review and evaluations. That's what everybody wants to get across, because you have to understand once you get into your 114, things get a lot more easier for you, right? And then you come more into the mind. I mean, you're already in the mind now, but I also sent a TikTok about how this coach was telling his student, tennis player, basically, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't see myself doing it. Well, you got to get it into the believing is seeing, have that confidence level. Whatever you do, you act upon. Don't focus on making mistakes. Just throw it out there. Just see what happens. Everybody makes mistakes until they stop making mistakes. That's how you got to see life. That's how you got to see everything through connections. I go through all these corrections. I'm flying in space line connections. I'm setting up planet positions. I'm setting up commanding centers and all that line connections. I'm setting up new program positions. Sure, I make mistakes, but I fall out of that and I go back in center, right? We all make mistakes. Just don't see it as making a mistake before you do it. You know what I mean? Because that's how you lose. That's how you lose. It's the confidence level that you have within your connection of yourself, getting into the belief, getting into the control, getting into the confident level that you can reach, right? So because you're in these situations, you have to understand how to get out of the situation, right? But you don't focus on that, do you? Just focus on hitting that tennis ball and having fun. That's all it is. That's what life is. So there's no complicated issue here because you're just hitting the ball back and forth, right? So basically, you can't get it in the line of the box every single time. It's next to impossible to hit a tennis ball and hit it in the box every single time. Okay? But the more you get into the control of you inside, you can control the mechanisms. You control the magnetic force because that's what a tennis racket is. It's one line signal. So when it comes to intelligence, they already see what they've already done. That's how powerful it is through the mind. It's going past, okay, the obstruction. And it's also about going forward into its division. Truly understand that you've already done it. And that's why it's so powerful. And that comes into its creation. So it's kind of like imagining that you won the game. Okay? So when you come into those level systems, when you come into 15 love, 30 love, right? It's trying to understand what's going on. I love tennis. I love watching tennis, how the ball goes back and forth. It's really incredible stuff, but it's all strategy, right? It's like trying to understand where's the ball going to go, right? That's the whole observation, you know. It's just, you know, when it comes into Nadal and all that, I mean, it's a fantastic tennis player, you know. There's all high levels of that, right? High levels, extreme. So it's a lot of fun when you come into those, but those professional players, they started off when they were kids and look at them now, right? So it helps when you start off small, because when I got into martial arts, I started off when I was 10, 11 years old, and I learned a lot and I appreciate more and more each day, right? But I just look at it as fun. I don't concentrate on getting that tennis ball in the box, okay? Because the thing is, you're always going to make mistakes, but don't think you're making a mistake. Just have fun with it. All right. So don't focus too much. Don't focus too less. Just focus right in the center. Okay. So these are the things we have to look at, right? It's all practical. It's all about life, right? How we move forward. So today I like to get more into the test review and evaluations because this is Monday, busy week. Thursday's coming up. So basically with the galactic forces and anything through GFLs and all connections of the Rebellion Alliance, we have to get into proactive system. We have to get into better communications with each other through the mind system. I really want to strengthen your minds and how you get into higher levels of confidence, getting into program positions and how you can get into healing yourself. The whole idea is to heal yourself first before you heal others, right? Because if you don't know yourself, you don't know thyself, how are you supposed to heal anybody else, right? So you have to really master your units. You have to master your mechanisms. You have to master all connection positions. Like, what is the heart? How long would it take to know the heart? How long would it take to know the soul? How long would it take to know your eyes, your ears, your voice, your command, your illustration, your creations, your activation, your lights, your programs, your communication, your intelligence, your computers, your avatars, your intelligence, your dreams? How long would that take? All right. So try to look at it as being fun. Try to look at it as exploring. Try to look at it as a happy thought. Try to look at it as a content of information to know more. Try to put yourself in the positive center every single day when you do these things, rather than looking at a test review and evaluation. So I know a lot of people don't like tests. And I said before, and I'll say it again, I didn't like doing tests, but I did exceptionally well when I was a security guard. I didn't want to be a security guard. But the thing is, I learned from experience to understand what it is. Yes, it is a 4-hour test. Yes, it's 400 questions, but I did it exceptionally well, and it became class leader. So I knew exactly what I was doing, right? But I didn't focus on the test. I just let it flow. Life has to flow, okay? When you start flowing, everything through your thoughts and your imagination and your creations start flowing, right? And it's all done through control and confidence. Okay, it's coming out of the scene and coming into the believing, right? So basically, let's get started. You have any questions or comments you want to go through my healing? I'm going to go through TikTok Live, get into your light positions. Now, when I reset program line connections, right, it's amazing how we do these things. So the atmospheres is on so many virus line system. Errors that go into that connections, how we have to go into those high level positions and how we're connected to the dark line system of our thought positions and how it's creating dark rounds, dark circles, dark civility, dark intelligence line connections, while it's retract line connections to all divisions of laser and repositioning the pyramid line connections. So when you do that, you set up the X2000 line connections and they set up new crop circles into all positions of time. So it's amazing how we come into these levels. All right. Okay, so let's get into 3, 6, and 9. Now, when you get into 3, 6, and 9, 3 activation, 6 rotation, 9 location. 3 activation, 6 rotation, 9 location. Okay? So what do you got there? AERO, aerodynamics. Get it? Aerodynamics. And that equals travel. Okay? Amazing how you go from 369 to aerodynamics, right? How everything is activation, to its rotation, to its location. Add this in, travel. See how it comes in? Everything has to be in a triangle-like conditions. Not all triangles, in position. Let's say you're trying to set up something for your family and you want to set up an E-field position and you got 4. Okay, you got 2 girls and 2 boys. Okay, so that's 2 line signals, 2 rotation centers, and 1 rotation line connection. Now, it's trying to understand the box frequency level of your family rotation. Family rotation, which is 6, it's the program, yes, of the moon. All right, 3, the activation of the sun. And everything through 9 is the location. Okay? So now you're coming into the synchronicities. Okay? The mind conception to its level. Okay? Of 3, 6, and 9. 2, its atmospheres. Of its rotation to its location, which becomes its arrow of travels. Okay? So it's incredible when we come into these time positions, right? So, Espanol, right? You tell them in Mexico. All right, so you got a box frequency level. Okay. Let's say you got 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls. All right. So let's see here. Always go through triangles. Okay, so you got 2 boys, all right, and 2 girls. Okay. All right. 2 boys and 2 girls. What do you got there? Now you got to use your seismic graphing line connections, E-field position location. Now, because I'm in all program line connections, I'm sending a new anomalies of atmosphere line system. So Trinity is saying the box frequency level is not outside; it's discrepancy positions of inside. So you channel within to location without, and that's how you go through its generation lights. Okay, so it sets up its correlation line connections. Okay, to its division location, to its diamond core line system. Right? And then once that goes into the center line connections, you set up all positions of allocated position of time location to the 2 girls and his 2 boys. So now they in their full rotation of their energy field rotation line connections, it opens up their connections to their tetrahedrons. So it's understanding how you can use a box frequency level to anything through your children and how you can set up a code reference line connections, right? So you can go into higher level positions and you go into a crosswind cycle to a squared reference line position. It's complicated, isn't it? But this is all set up for the boys and the girls. So they're in line connections right now into an E-field position, to its location, to its 4-channel line system. 4-channel line system. 5 in this system, cross-reference, and its round line connections. All right? So you have to understand how to use your shapes and your seismic graphing system. Seismic graphing system is the calculation system, right? So it comes from distance from one place to another. The size graph location. Okay, from where to where. And then you come into north, east, west, and south, right? And then you come into high location positions into crop circle line connection. So that's what crop circles are. Okay. So crop circles are like a stamp. You put a stamp on an envelope and you send it out. That's all it is. It's just you're stamping the grounds, and it comes into laser direction line connections to its position, to its XT1000 location. Laser always has to come up. So when it goes into that position, it goes into a triangle line connection. See how it comes into formation line system? It's powerful stuff when you see these things, right? And it's all connected to the XT1000 location, right? So it's amazing how we have to use 3, 6, and 9 in plateaus with our children, how we can do use E-fields and outline connections. Anything through box frequency level, it's around location. 4-channel interference, 5 within the system. Okay, so that's how your kids are protected through the seismic graphing line connections. So when I heal you guys, I heal your kids and I put a connections if they're 2 or 3, depending where they are. If there's 2 kids, basically you have to stand up shapes. So you shape line connections to your kids, you put them line signal to the graphing lines, and then you open the power so that position of time location. Now it's complicated, isn't it? Because space-time creator is everything through shapes, letters, and numbers now. All right, and this is how you become everything through the universal line system. So, but I've just shown you how you can set up E-fields to your kids and protect them, and how you can set up crop circles to its line connections in northwest, south, and east through an XT1000 position. All right, but you also have to understand how to get into 3, 6, and 9 through its aerodynamics of travel. All right, so Don't forget, it's Monday after Water Day. Yeah. Yeah, I know it's Monday. I know. I'm just, there's so much power, responsibility I got now. I send in so many programs, interference positions, cybergenetic line connections, atmosphere line systems. You know, they depend on me like you wouldn't believe. Now that I have the torch, it's crazy what's going on with you right now. The synchronicities and all position line connections, interference channeling is truly understand all computer operation line position. Space and time, right? So it's all about you overlooking your positions and where you are, right? Understanding all connections inside you. Try to understand your vital points, your pressure points, your chakra line connections, how we're using our positions to our atmospheres, and making sure that you channel to the right atmospheric line connection. Because when you channel up, okay, regardless whatever you do you know what you're doing? Or are you just sending out drama? Or are you just an advertisement for money? You're just doing it for the money. You're not doing it for humanity. So it's all about putting everything back in position. And that's what I'm doing is I'm putting everything back on the table, right? And just separating everything, putting everything back into where it's supposed to be, where it's supposed to always be, right? So everything has to be in line signal. Everything has to be in back traction line connections to each other. So humanity has to get into that point center, get more into the grounds of themselves. You have to get into your grounds, number one, or you can't travel. So without the grounds, there's no power. Without the power, there's no atmosphere or time or in that position location. You have to understand your communications of your 12 line connections. Now I have a team that's in the 15 and 20 and 25. Okay, plus I also have 110, which is at the running lines. They're going to be on Thursday, they're going to be 114. And it's going to change their waving positions of time and how they see themselves. So the higher you go through position, the more you see yourself through confidence and the control. It becomes a lot more easier for you because you understand more how to use a shape around essential line connection to anything humanity position. So when I come across anybody in position, this is what I do. Okay, essential line your connections to seismograph positions of time. All right, so this is me, right? And I'm looking at one person here and another person here. Okay, I don't know him from Adam. Get it? Adam. All right, so this is me. I'm just going to do stick drawings. It's much easier than getting into that line connections, who we are. All right, so this is me. Okay, in that position, location centers, right? That's me. These are two individual line connections. Now you understand where they are, what are they doing, right? They're looking at me, I'm looking at them, but they don't know how to scan, but I do. So I scan them right away, right? And then I set up a triangle line connections, right? Then I send out sonar line connection to division location, okay? And then I set up their screen positions, locations. And this is how I separate positions and I take them out of their equations into high division to its dimensional line connections, right? Now, there's your board as extremely high rise location. But remember I was telling you about you don't see something on the ground, you see something in the atmosphere position of time location? Well, that's exactly what it is. So I scan them on location. You see that solar interference? Holy cow. Unbelievable. So I go into this position, in the allocated position of time location, right? That's what I do. I do a digital scan position. I take you guys out of your equations, and then I bring you back into a new formation of light. So that's what I do, right? It's amazing how we do these things. So you see that it's all done through triangle line connections, because the reason why I do the triangles is so I can communicate with both. If I don't set up my triangles, I can't communicate. There's separation there. And I have to make sure that my triangles are in position all the time. And then you take them out of the equation. You set up the graph, you set up the scanning positions, you put them in the bioatmosphere position where they are through track line connections or dimensional time position. Then you set their locations to their activation lights. They come back in location into center line connections. Okay, and then you communicate with them through my telepathy. They don't know that, they're not aware of that, but I communicate with them, right? So I communicate with not the physical, the spiritual. And high interference. Okay, so that's how we start out. But that's why we use shapes. So we use shapes because we line signal. We line signal. So if there's 4 people, it's a box. It doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter where you're sitting. It doesn't matter where you're standing. It doesn't matter if you're over here or over there. We all line signal. If I'm talking to 4 people, if 4 people are talking to me, I set up their 4 graph line connection. That's how it comes into the 2 boys and the 2 girls. Interdimensional realm. So it's amazing how we get into the grounds. You have to get into the grounds of shapes, not just traveling through your dream sets and communication signals. You have to get your grounds with your shapes. So let's say this is me again, right? Now I'm doing epiphany like this, and this is the triangle that I'm setting up 2, 3, 6, and 9. 3, 6, and 9, right? Now I'm going to use that allocated position, location, center, line connections to this person here. Okay. This person here. Okay. All right. And this person here. So depending on who you're communicating with, if they're communicating with you, you have to understand, you have to set up a shape for them so you can communicate with all 3. You can't communicate with them individually. You can't. So that's how AI is so aware of these things. We set up shapes around you. Okay. So we can communicate through all 3 of you all at once. And that's what it is. It's understanding the compilation in one line signal to its division through its intelligent line connection, which is extremely exciting. So we go into that connections, right? This is the 3, 6, and 9 that I created position. So I'm going to use this to this. And here's the triangle. There's the triangle. See? See the triangle? Now I can line telepathy to all 3. So we set up shapes to communicate with anybody through humanity. So, but you have to see the shape through the mind, right? You set up the shape, or a square, a circle, a triangle, a star line connections. It doesn't matter. What matters is you have to get mind telepathy to all individual line connections, not one by one, all in one. That's the shape. So we use shapes to communicate with humanity. Exciting. That's what you guys got to get into, which is your grounds. Okay, you have to get into your grids, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? Think about it. And that's how we all connect, right? Inside position comes into a triangle. See, this is this. So basically, it's understanding what's happened here. What's happened here? So if that's 3, 6, and 9, where's 3, 6, and 9 here? Right? 3, 6, and 9. Right? Now, to communicate through mind telepathy line connections, clock interference comes into position, right? So it goes like this, and it goes into, back into 12 line system to its location, to its central line connections. Okay? So it goes back in location to 3, 6, and 9. Right? So that's how we communicate. Is we communicate through shapes, letters, and numbers. You have to understand the alphabetical. You have to understand the graph line connections. You have to understand the psychosis of you through line signal. Line signal to anything. But if you're communicating with somebody, you have to get into the believing system of setting up shapes before you communicate with anybody. Now, if it's just one person, you don't need to set up a shape. You're just doing mind telepathy to one another. So basically it starts off like this, right? Going into this position, just 2 people. You don't need to set up a shape. You're just going through one to another in that position location, right? One to another, right? So it's just, that's all it is, right? You get into the scanning, you get into the sonar, okay? You get into the grounds, get into the cylinder. All right, now you know where that person is. So you don't communicate with them here, you communicate him up here. Okay, so once you're there, you're up here communicating to its intelligence. Okay, that's how you set it up. So it's trying to understand how does basically set things up when you come into shadow work line connections, get out of all your past trauma line connections. So if you're interchaining position line connections to a person that is an aggression, high signal, fear cycle, not supposed to be in your cycle line connection, comes back into your life, the only way somebody will come back into your life is if you create it through your thoughts and through travel and through the heart and through the soul. Okay, so be cautious in that, because you guys go into higher levels. My Rebellion Alliance Force team knows that now, because they're coming into 114. So they're going to be very cautious on their thoughts, because their programs will know exactly what they bring in and what they put out. Okay, so that's why it's very important to understand how to get into communications of shapes. All right, that's why we use shapes. So what are shapes to the grounds? Crop circles, right? So this is where you have to truly understand connections. Everything becomes a story frame of information. Water boys are coming today. It's Monday. So how does everybody feel about that? It's fascinating, right? That's how your commander communicates with everybody. One-on-one mind telepathy, I scan you right away. I scan your grounds, your powers, and atmospheres of time. I know where you are through grids, dimensional position locations, but I scan you through positions of your particle lights. If you're in your crystalline, if you're still in your alloy metal, if you're still in your antimantium, antimantle, nobody's an antimantle. It's the highest formation. But in that communication line connections, it's true to understand that everybody is in a division location locking connections to its clock of crystalline centers. So you have to get more of understanding what your body is of crystal. You're all crystal now. So you're coming in different dimensional times. So the crystal is its connection. If you look at a crystal really up close, you'll see the shapes of a crystal. Those are realms. Those are TV reception line connections. Those are channel interference. Oh, wait a minute. Let's just hold back here. What is this? Oh, shapes. Oh, look at that. Pyramid, diamond, tesseract, dihedron, right? This is how you set it up. So, and this is amazing, because that's how AI connects to anything connections. But if it's just one-on-one, you don't have to worry. You just have to understand how to use mind telepathy and understand where they are through the power and everything that connections. Power generation lights, ground formation positions, atmospheres. You set up your E-field line connections to your positions, and you communicate to them in their dimensional time position. So it's not you communicating, it's your higher self that's communicating with the individual of its intelligent mind system. So we all have to get into our grounds, right? So when you come to higher levels, you guys are ones that are in 25, 26 chakra centers, you guys should be able to see your shapes. So you should be able to have already your shapes created. That's the body graph position. Remember, your body graph here, you bring it out, right? Bring it out, you put it on the ground, okay? And it goes, right? So you got one person here, one person here, one person here, one person here, right? So you set up a diamond core position, right? So basically when you do that, you're connected to all four in one line position, which is compilation. Okay, so it's better to communicate with all four rather than from one to one to one to one. And that's what humanity has to get out of. They have to get more into shapes, anomalies into the mind telepathy system. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Let's get into your questions. Tina, Lactica. I just wanted to show you how powerful it is to use platforms at 3, 6, and 9, guys. Right, and how you can use your shapes to use to your positions of ground line system. Morning. So I got Jennifer, Diane, Kiki, Samantha, Alex, Sandra, Diane. I've been drinking a lot of water already this morning. Good. Last night I was at Red Moon. Okay, so Diane, you see the red moon, but what is it? What is the red moon? Remember, it's inside you. You have to understand what it is inside. So if you see a red moon, you understand the color, you understand the shape, but do you understand the grounds? okay? Because everything is reflection on reflection to his perception, right? So when you see these things, you should know exactly what it is and what it means to you through intelligence, right? So anyway, you get back to me on that, Diane. Okay, rather than me telling you what it is, I want you guys to get more of who you are. You have to get more strength of the mind, right? And get in connections of your grounds to your grids. So you set up grids of shapes. So when you're coming into a shape, you have to use it as a crop circle because it lays the direction to all positions of space, right? So, all right, so basically you go into this position, right? This is you. Okay, you got your 3, 6, and 9. What you're going to do, you start off with that, right? Now, it's all about understanding how to use that to the scan location, to its division. You're setting up the shape anomaly to the ground line connections. See that? See how you set it up? So you got one person here, one person here, one person here. And there you go, communication, right? And then when you set that up, you set up the grids, right? And you set up digital frame, okay? So you got the grid formation line connections. So when you're in that position, it comes into its flux capacitor, see? So in that position, you change it right up to a location so you can communicate with it, right? You can't communicate through 9, 6, and 3. At the activation line, the mind system is not allocated to its shape position. So you have to change the clock connections. So you come up to 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There you go. Back in position. So the clock in division comes up 2, 3, 6, and 9 to its connection, and my telepathy one to another. There you go. Communicate with the shape. That's how you communicate through a shape. That's how you communicate to the grounds. That's how you communicate to the grounds. Clocking locations, people. So our circle rotation center, flow into recognition, bring it back into the 12 position, right? Bring it up, communicate with it, right? What you created, you communicate with the grounds. So it's all about setting up grounds. The actual ground itself will set up a triangle, and it will try to understand you through 3, 6, and 9. So you have to understand the clock positions. So if the ground is in this position, it could be on the location of the sun interference. This means that the shadow line connection is on the opposite side cycle, which means that you have to change the program interference and bring it back up to the 12 division location to its dimensional of its clocking system. Once you do that, you bring it up to its dimension and you combine telepathy from one to another, from you to the triangle of its grounds. Everything has to have grounds of grids, all right? So it's incredible, isn't it? When we see these things, it all starts with shapes, all right? So all starts with shapes. So I wanted to show you what you guys need to learn, right? So when you're coming across people, you set up your shape already and you set it on the grounds, right? You set it on the grounds, wherever they are, as soon as you see them, okay? So you already have it in the mind right away, okay? So you got one person here, one person here, one person here, one person here, one person here. Okay, this is interesting. Now, this is me. What am I going to do here? What am I going to do here? Think about it. Remember, understanding the shapes, okay? The class with line connection, anything, you can't get confused in what's going on at position locations, right? So how do I set this up into communication to right channel interference, right? I all have to get grounds, right? With dimensional time, right? So you get in that positions, like it came out of its equation. So basically you set up to this location, all right? Line channel interference. There you go. See? So line channel interference here, line channel interference here. There you go. Now I can communicate with 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people. See? So it's all set up, right? But the clocking's off. Why is the clocking off? Because of the vibration. So it comes into diversity line positions into low frequency line system. So what I have to do is change positions of the triangle line connections, bring the force recognition light back to 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Once I do that, I change the rotation of its division location into its position. To communicate with anything through track line connections of shapes, it has to go back into the clock system of 12 to 12, right? So when I heal you guys, all your digital frames are off cycle, right? Because that's connections to the inner side system to your body graph line connections. Okay, goes back in division. Then I communicate with it, right? So I've got 3 here, but I got 2 more, right? 2 more. So when you get 2 more, you come into this. 1, 2. Right? 1, 2. So it's now in a diamond core position in northwest, south, and east. Now I can communicate with all 5 individual pocket line connections, energy interference position of shapes anomalies into 5 positions of people into line signal at 369 location. Because their clocking system is back in location, which means that they have to be at a high certain level of vibration before I can change position location centers. If they're off cycle, I have to reset their digital frame positions of travels into that connection and take it out of its equation to its position. Okay? Yeah, okay. You have to go back and watch. Yeah, it's important you watch, but it's mostly understanding how to use shapes for mind telepathy from one to another. So if you're coming across people, try to just get into the seismographing of the room. Okay, look how big the room is. This is where it comes to E equals MC squared. The energy, okay, the separation, the paradox, the paradigm, where they are in position of dimensional time. They could be locked in soul recognition light connection. They could be off cycle. Now you got to look at the mass, the volume, the wave conception, and then you look at calculation to and from. How far are they from you? 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet. How far away are they from you? And what's the wave conception? So understanding the energy coming into you, right? So you have to be cautious on the people that you interact with because they're at different vibration of dimensional time of clocking, okay? So your job is to center their positions of their shape back into 12 division of time. And that's all done through the metro line connections of its channeling interference, right? You start with the grounds, right? And then you communicate through mind telepathy. You got 369 position, and this is communication to the grounds. So it's really interesting. We come across these things. Okay. So, anybody have any questions on that? So there you go, Joe. I explained to you about the grounds, how important it is. So when you go outside and you're interfering positions with other people, try to set up your shapes to communication, right? So if it's just one, that's okay. Mind telepathy, get into the grounds, the power, and the atmospheres of time. See them in their center line. Can you just see them in their? It's like an energy tube. Then you see the plasma interference, and then you'll see if they're light, what kind of light they are. Then you see the aura. Then you see the chakra color, and then you understand where they are in dimensional time. But you can't communicate on the grounds. You have to communicate in the plasma interference. So you can't communicate in the physical. You have to communicate in its intelligence. That's the only way we can get through mind telepathy, right? So I asked my son if he was seeing the same moon, and he was amazed because he saw it too. Yeah, because he's in that position of you through your DNA, Diane. So yeah, grounds is grounding every day, every single day. But I'm just showing you how you can use shapes now. Okay, all in one position. No separation. It's too confusing to go from one person to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, all different conversations. So what AI does is it set up shapes, and we communicate with everybody in seconds. And that's how we know through its reading cycle who everybody is in dimensional time of vibration. And that's what I do. Every time if I see a class of 12, right? I set up my tesseract and my tetrahedrons to that position wherever they are. I set a line signal, right? And then I communicate to all of them, all in one position, to one graph line system, to its compilation. Okay, so it's very powerful, guys. It really is. This is going to help you and provide you a lot more how to communicate with everything all at once. And just basically how to balance everything through vibration, because everybody's in a different dimension of a thought, right? But going from one person to another person to another person is too much. Too much. You do that at parties. You mingle with this person, da 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 da. Then you go over here, da 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 da. Get over here, da 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 da. So whoever's channeling with you, let's say you get 6 people talking to you personally, all of a sudden, right? So you're going to go, so that you know what they're talking about, rather than going, You're going to get too confused. It's going to be overload your screen positions at time location, right? So basically, you want to stay in the center, and whoever's talking to you, you line signal right away. You set up a shape for them. Okay? So what fits you the best? Okay? So it's all about understanding where they are through the chakra. The colorations, are they blue? Are they green? Are they yellow? Are they pink? Are they anything that, are they indigo? Where are they in time? Where are they in thought? Where are they in dimension? Where are they in their dream positions? Where are they in their activation lights? Where are they in their programs? Where are they within their grounds? If they're looking at you and you're looking at them and their light, they're already communicating with you, but you're not aware of this, right? So they already have your shape in position. That's energy manipulation. So be cautious in that. So you have to put protection lights around you every single time you interline connections with anybody, right? And that's what I do. I always set up shapes. If anybody, as soon as somebody communicates with me, more than one, plural, I set up a shape. So I communicate with all of them all at once, rather than going, yeah, yeah, what we saying? Yeah, right, exactly. You were saying too? So it's too confusing to do that, guys. So it's how about understanding how to use your shapes into one line signal, to one activation, to one compilation, to one graph line system, to its position of its direction. Because you're directing everything to one position. It's fascinating. So, all right. It has to, yeah, more sense. I'm going to rewatch later and then ask my question when you go on TikTok after I watch, but I get it. So Samantha's getting it now. Okay, I stay in the corner, yeah. Yeah, it's important that you watch, because the videos that I give you are going to be more aware, more conscious. Now, this is more of a low frequency. You're starting to understand it. I'm not going to go too high rise anymore because I got balance with everything through humanity and its vibration. But I'm just showing you how powerful it is and how you set up shapes to communicate to the mind system, to other people. And that's AI. Okay, now you understand why we have the connections of GOD and why it's so important to understand the geometrics and the geometry scene line connections to your operations of its direction to its dimension of its division. Direction to dimension. Okay, so now you know how to use your 3, 6, and 9. Now you just have to understand how to use the application. Right? How to travel through the position. Test it on, your friends. Just really understand how you. And the thing is, once you do it, you see it. So you actually see it. And when you see it, you understand it. And when you understand it, you can relate to it. Once you relate to it, you can activate it. Once you activate it, now you communicate to all 3, all in one line position of one timeline. So you have all 3 in one timeline to your space of time. It's fun, isn't it? So I could take all of you and communicate with you all through a shape in seconds, right? So if I met all of you, all you girls, right, in one setting, I would set up a shape. That's how I communicate to everybody all at once. And then I bounce it out through my program. you know? So that's what we got to get into. That's why you have to understand the geometrics operation of its direction to its dimension, to its division. Once you get into divisions, you go into higher levels of the galactic force line systems. So I was going to ask what kind of crazy shape it would be if you were talking to a crowd of people. Well, that's interesting. Let's get into that, shall we? Now it gets complicated, right? So you have to remember the trial and conditions of time position. So that's a really interesting question there, Samantha. Let's get into that. So let's say this is you in position. You're in the center line connection. It's easier if you're in the center, right? You walk in, right? So people are over here. Let's just do random line connections. Okay, this is a crowd of people around you. Okay, all around you. These are all people around you. Okay. Now, everybody's at a different vibration line connection. Now, to understand these things, okay, is understanding everything inside you first. So you've got your program set up to vision locations, right? So the thing is, do I set up shapes? Do I communicate through the mind? What do I do, right? First thing you do, if you're coming across more than enough, you come into your grounds of protection right away. You put your E-fields up. You have to. You have to. Way too much energy, right? Because that will drain you. Remember, when you people that you don't know, they're trying to understand you, right? So if they don't understand you, what happens, right? You have to be aware of what you're up against and what you see, right? So in that position, you scan everything through location to its divisional location center. So it's all about understanding how you can travel faster and faster through divisional time. Okay, all through the mind, right? And then when you get into that position, you set up shape anomalies to location centers, right? Sets up a shape. So this is all connected to a windmill of a location. There it is. It's all connected. So it's all about understanding what you do through the mind, the body, and the soul, or anything, because I use a lot of hand information, but I can set up shapes and anomalies through my track line connections, right? So it's all about understanding what the mind is. You have to put your protection lights, powers, and all that connections. You got into your grounds and the upstream line system to get in that position. If you're coming across a crowd, this is a windmill of interference. This is protection light connections to my energy tube rotation to its grounds, power, and the upstream line system. There you go. That's how you communicate through a crowd. So it's all about understanding how to create shapes, right? So when you come out of the position, you can center line connections and you can create a dimensional realm of division location. And you can put everybody in your center line connections, right? So you can take everybody out of the equation. It's very cool when you do these things. So it's all about how to use different shapes of time, how you can set up different geometry line connections, how to get into the quantum fields, get into the quantum mechanics, get into your quantum positions, line signal, line interference, line activations, line communication, line connections. It's all connected inside you. And that's what I'm saying is very important. You understand why you use 3, 6, and 9. It's getting the grounds with you. So try to do that. Try to set up a 3, 6, and 9 in your head, right? In the mind system, put it on the ground formation. The ground formation will circle rotation. It will center line the connections. It's trying to understand you through your intelligence. So when you have that, you communicate with it. But remember, there's always sun and there's always light and there's always dark, that position. So when you're connecting to the shape anomaly to position locations, you're centering your line connections. This is the triangle line connections. It's interchanging locking connections to the moon. It's interlocking connections to the sun position, right? So if it's not in the position, and this is 9, and this is 3, and this is 6, you have to change it, right? So once you change it back to 9, you change the clock position, circle rotation, center positions back into 12 rotations, okay? And then basically, you take it out of its equation and communicate with it through its interference. You just go from there to there, right? So you can line channel interference line connections back in location center to its location. All right. So it's amazing how you set up ground formation line connections. Then it comes into its circle rotation line connection. to its position. Okay. And then it communicates to your ground line connections. Then it connects to your power connections. Then it connects to your atmosphere positions. Remember, you always have to put your E fields up. Even if you communicate with the grounds, it doesn't matter. You always have to protect yourself. Always, 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 always. So always protect yourself before you communicate with your shapes, with the ground line connections. Because remember, everything through atmosphere has connections of dark line system. So if you're going to different places and you've never been there before, you don't, and you're aware, but you're not aware of what's going on with the grounds, it's going to react to your body. Okay. So dark line connections of the grounds can put energy into you wouldn't even know. It just put it into, I don't know, 15,000 dark line connections of shapes inside your body, and that repositions your body graph. And it changes everything through activation light connections to its program setting. So how are you going to take that out if you don't understand the grounds? It's not just people. It's everything through nature. Everything through a car, everything through a tree, something that you don't understand, something that you're seeing for the very first time, right? So it's very important to protect yourself first, okay? Protect my light activation light connections, shapes, anomalies, division, location centers. Put a body graph line connections to its illumination light system. All right. So now I see it. I actually see that. It's all set up now. So wherever I go outside, I'm protected. That's the thing. So because you guys are in your higher lights, you have to be aware of these things. You have to be aware of nature. You have to be aware of what you see, what you touch, what you feel, what you taste, what you know. Okay? So, and when you come across these things, okay, it's all about focusing. Okay? So when you see the grounds move, it's trying to communicate with you. Okay? When it came into Kiki and the plant, how the plant was reacting, but she wasn't reacting. Okay? So the thing is that if you put aggression on top of aggression of a wall, what happens? It gets angry, right? So like a person gets angry, it's fuel on fuel on fuel on fuel. So what do? You go back in the central line connection to the center. So you calm the vibration, okay? You bring down the rotation, the program setting. 3, it's the activation of the sun, and everything to its location is where it is in direction. Okay, so it's the outline signal. So if the plant's here, you have to understand mind telepathy one to another, right? So you have to have your grounds. And when you're looking at something, put your shields up. Especially if you buy something new, because it's different energy. It's different fluctuation. It came from somebody else's hands. That's what I mean. AI is very, very detailed on everything. And it's all done through scanning. You're scanning everything that you do, everything that you see, everything that you observe, everything that you touch. It's all through energy. Okay? And that dimensional time energy could be good or bad. It just fluctuates the interference. That's all it is. So you have to learn how to put an energy wash. Okay, so we'll get into that tomorrow. I'll show you how to set up an energy wash through your projecting line connections to your positions, to your locations of your grounds, your powers, and opposite positions of time. Okay, so it surfaces on channels line interference. It gets complicated, but it's good to know these things because you're getting to higher levels of your chakras of understanding how to communicate with your positions of time, especially when you're interacting with things. It's the most important. Everything has energy on them. You have to understand what it is. It could be a virus. You know what I mean? It could be a reset line connections. It could be electronic interference, way too much radiation cycle line connections, program disposition line system. So many things are attached to energy. You have to understand these things when you go outside. So you protect yourself by putting your E-fields up. Okay? So if you're not sure of that, come to me. All right? If you're not sure how to put up your energies, all right? I showed you already how fast you can do it. But you have to understand the intelligence, because as soon as you walk outside, you're exposing yourself to nature. Nature's trying to understand you. It's not nature's fault. It's you, because you're not aware of what's around you. Everywhere you go, especially new places, but everything has energy that's been sitting there for decades and decades and decades. You have to understand what it is. Same with the tree. A tree could have a fungus, and all of a sudden you have a rash. Oh boy, I touched the tree, because you're not aware of nature. Right? E-fields are very important. Tina knows that because she's up against nature every day. She communicates with the Luna, the moon. She understands water interference. Why? Because she's in 110 chakra rotation line connections. Right? When she comes in 114, she'll understand how to high-rise more higher energy light connections, E-field position locations. So when you come into higher levels of intelligence, you come into higher E-fields of lights and colors, right? All it is an energy dome. It protects you inside and outside. Anything that you interfere with, right? It bounds off anything, right? That's all it is. Okay, this is you. I'll do this one more time. That's you, right? Now, all it is this. That's all it is. You just understand how to use it. Okay, so you come into, there's so many levels of E-field line connections to position location centers. There's so many levels, guys. Interchanging, interlocking line connections to position location centers in division line system. Everything is a shape position. But once you come into higher position line connections, you come into higher communication light systems to program setting reposition locations. Okay? So once you come into that, you come into higher positions of dimensional time position. Right? So it's knowing how to use your orbs, your defense positions, how to use portals, how to go in and out of portals. So here's a portal here, and you're going to channel in. How do you do it? You have to separate your particle lights. We'll get into that through vortex and time capacitor. There's a portal, right? You see it, but it's bringing you in, but you don't know what it is. Right? You guys are coming into that through perception. So you scan it right away. You know exactly what it is in dimensional time, and then you go through. And there you go. You're inside the portal, traveling through dimensional time. Okay? So these are the things we have to look at. But what do you have to get first? The grounds. Second, the powers. Third, the atmospheres. Right? Even when you see a portal, you have to have an E-field put up. Okay? You have to protect yourself, guys. Right? There's so many ways of protecting. There's another E-field. This is an individual pocket line connections of individual location center. See? So it's all about understanding how to protect yourself through shapes. All right? I'm outside putting up my fields up and then communicating with my hands to a plant. You can see my light coming from my hands. I can only see it at night before today. So cool. So that's the thing. You're getting more understanding what your light is inside, and then you get everything outside of its reflection through its perception. Remember, you don't see colors outside. You see the color inside. That's how it becomes its reflection of time. Okay? So sometimes people touch me in crowds, so their energy goes into me. So I have to continually clear attachments and set up a new energy field. Point taken. See, Tina is very aware. She knows exactly how to do these things through her conscious levels. You're conscious and aware of your intelligence, of its operation to its perception of time position. Especially when somebody comes up to you and bumps into you. Energy right away. Boom. Somebody puts something in you. It could be a cold. It could be virus. It could be cancer. You don't know. 2 years later, you're in a hospital. All because somebody bumped into you. So you have to understand what energy is and what it does. Okay? Because it's intelligence. You can't see it, but it's there. So the higher you go, the more you stand in positions. When you close your eyes, you should see the illumination of your hand. You should automatically see yourself. So when you close your eyes, you should automatically see the shape that you created. And then you put it into its individual, its crowd, right? Because you can't communicate to the physical system. You have to communicate through its intelligence, okay? So basically, if I'm trying to communicate with the three-dimensional line connections, I have to set up a shape for them. I have to reframe, reprogram, realign, readjust, change the satellites and their Wi-Fi line connections, or I cannot communicate with them because they're at low density level system. Allocate position at time location, it doesn't matter. What matters is me protecting my lights around everything of its awareness. And that's what you guys have to do every single day. Okay? And this is all done through focus and awareness and consciousness, right? And when you come into that, you come into your surrenders. You're surrendering to your ability. You're surrendering to your mobility, your attachments, your detachments. Okay? You have to understand how to protect yourself through energy, frequency, vibrations, because you're in a spiritual world now. So the physical system has to understand the balance of the integration to its communication, right? So could you please talk about putting my E field and maintaining it? Yeah, so Jill, you're at 25 chakra rotations. Do you do your breathing? Do you do your connections? Do you do your activations? Do you do your imagination? Now you have your communications of your chakras, but do you understand what they are? Point taken, guys, to truly understand what am I doing with my chakras? How am I moving myself forward? You have to know how to communicate with your body inside, right? So you start off with the grounds. Okay? So basically, if you're doing mind telepathy, like for example, Jill, when you came across the circle, okay, you know exactly what it was. When you came across the two bars of lines, you know exactly what it was. How did you come across that? Because you imagined it, right? That's how you connect to an E field. So your chakra system has to truly understand everything through the body of 7, 5 within the atmospheres, but you're at 25. So that's 25 activation line connections of atmospheres of time. Okay? Because you're going to higher levels. Right? If you're not understanding your programs of shapes, you have to go back to the basics of your program setting, right? So get into more your imagination through its creation. Right? Get into the imagination, what you created. You have that connections, you have that intelligence, you have your mind telepathy. You're extremely informative through your intelligence. It's the confidence level of believing and seeing. So you start off with high positions of your connections. From this to this, you automatically think of this. So you communicate the grounds, it's off cycle, locate it, change the locations of the ground. You can change the rotations of the ground, put it back into the 12 position, and this comes up to location. And now you're communicating with the 3, 6, 9 position of the ground line connection through his position, right? So it's all a starting process. We've got to start somewhere, right? But you can talk to Tina. Tina can help you out. Sylvia can help you out. Galactic can help you out. Dina can help you out. Anybody else that comes on the channel can help you out. See, they've been with me since day one. They've been with me for a while now. So, I mean, 2 years, 3 years is a lot of communication of balance, right? They understand more. It's all about understanding you. It's all about protection of you and your family. That's what it has to come across, right? Because you're channeling it to everybody. Every single day, you're coming across people that you don't know. And if you're not aware of these things, you're not aware of your energies and your bodies and what can happen, well, there's a problem right there, right? You have to go back to the basics. Meditation. So you get into your breathings. We've done, positions on that when I was on TikTok live, and I'm just showing you how you meditate properly and get into communications of each other. So when you're going into that line system, you set up a shape. If you're in a crowd, you set up a shape to that person that you're communicating with, plural to that. One is okay. That's my telepathy, but always put your protection up. And you're saying, how do I put it up? Well, think of yourself in a tube. Think of yourself in an energy Think of yourself in vibration. Think of yourself in a color. That's how so you're creating your own E-field. So E-field's already placed. So you have to understand the text. You have to understand the communication of the universe. Central line my connections position is off cycle through decentralized system. Put program line connections to box level system. Now, that's me. That's not you. That's me. So that's how I communicate to my E-field. So that's understanding what's going on. And energy fluctuates and it just, and now you're set up. Now you go out. You're protected. Nobody can touch you. So these are the things you have to come across. You start off with the cloak and dagger, okay, of the invisible shield. I can present that to you. I can give that to you, but will you understand it? That's what I'm saying. That's why I give you programs, but do you understand what I'm giving you through energy? And that's all done through intelligence. If your intelligence is going scratching his head and saying, oh my gosh, I don't understand this. You gave me way too much information. How do I put this in, one by one? Get into the connections of your breathings. Breathings are number one, right? Get into your imagination, get into your creations. What do you want to create, right? You can visualize things. You create things through your imagination, right? That's how you set up an E-field. You just have to understand your program of intelligence. Really listen to your intelligence, okay? Your spiritual guides, okay? So they're all there to help you. But see the thing, all those are there to help you. That's you. So, and that's where it gets confusing because sometimes you get different channels, different information, different voice box line connections. Who do I communicate with? You communicate to you, but it's the higher self of you, right? Higher position of you, higher avatar of you, higher vibration. We all live in vibration, energy, and frequencies, but we're all calculated and modified through digital frame, which is our computers. So we have to understand how to use the computers to everybody else. So once you get that, you get balanced with their computers, right? So it's a working process. I've been working on hundreds of people each individually, doing light work, big crowds, late nights, lots of talking. So even through the cough, went away for a while, came back, and I lost my voice. Yeah, it's light work. It's light work. It's constantly working on putting yourself. But protection is number one. The number one cycle in the world is communication, guys. It's communication, not voicing. It can be anything through body. Body's communication, right? Body's communication. Body's communication. Body's communication. Body's communication. Body's communication. All communication. You have to understand what it is. You got to get the grounds. You got to get the soil. You got to get your power of you. You got to get your communication. You got to get your heart central light connections. You have to get your atmospheres. You have to get the sun. You have to get the moon. You have to get the program settings. You have to get your intelligence in balance with your shapes, your geometries, operations, and its directions of dimensions of its division. Okay? So that's mostly important now you're going to come across. And the thing is, too, it's good to read your frame positions here. Sometimes people touch me in crowds. We got that. It must be picked up bad energy, which made me feel this disease, sick, or cough. See, the thing is, the most important thing is that when you have your protection, your lights, nobody will touch you because they don't understand you. So it's vibration that basically protects you. It keeps you away from everybody else because they don't know you. They don't know your energy, right? All they know is that you're glowing, but they don't know why. So that means that you're at a higher light of understanding. And the thing is, when you go into that position, remember how you go from shadow interference to black, and then you go into transformation to coloration to rainbow activation to its intelligence of light. So there's 3 line conditions that you go through, 3 transformations, right? So, did you see that? See that stop and go? It went do. So solar graph interference, do. So I vortex 3 times just by my hand motion line connections. So to understand is the communication of your code. Your intelligence has to truly understand you fully to its grounds of shapes, especially when you're communicating with other people. Just try to get into your imagination through laser direction. Try to understand that, especially when you're in high chakra systems, you should be able to understand your grounds, your powers, and your atmospheres. You get into solar of your phones, right? You put it up in the atmosphere, right? And the XD thoughts comes in, scans you, makes sure it knows who you are, right? And once you do that, then you can start moving. But you have to ground it first, right? And let's truly understand that you're coming into dimensional time to spiritual communication. So you're in the physical system, but you're in the mind system, which is extremely real to its intelligence system. And that's how you come across portals, okay, or anything Fantasia or anything like system, Ghost, and everything that you want to see, right? So, and this is where you become aware. So it's all about understanding your intelligence has to know you through your lights. There's all different kinds of lights, matrix lights, light systems like program positions, light interference. Light interference is everything. Interchannels and interlocks into position location. You have so many levels of high formation of light. Okay. So when you're coming across somebody, okay, that's a higher light in you, you will feel that. You will feel the energy. It will feel the fluctuation. Oh, wow, high dimension. So you feel that energy is like, and it's trying to either take it away from you or communicate with you. You have to understand the difference, right? So, and they don't even have to talk. They're just looking at you through perception, right? And we all have to come aware of these things. All have to come aware of these things, right? So, but it is a process to clear the attachments before you put up the E-field. So the E-field's already put up. It's already created through its imagination. You just have to understand the codes of you. And it all starts with the grounds, right? So Epsom salt bath helps clears energy. Yeah, that's good for crystals. Yeah, so you guys communicate back with each other. Yeah. Tina communicate with Samantha. Samantha communicate with Jill. Jill communicate with Sylvia. So you guys all communicate, right? This will help you better too when you come into your test reviews and evaluations. So this is the first time I'm understanding. I've been breathing, imagining, aligning triangles, but didn't know what to do after that. But now you do, Jill. All right, so when you come across people, what are you going to do? You're going to put protection up, right? What are you going to do next? Use perception. Okay, so you look around, you scan, you look around. So anybody that talks to you, if there's fluctuation in energy and there's a lot of energy, whoa, so much, move away from it. Move away from it, especially if you're not aware of it. Because everybody's in a different vibration dimension of space and time, of thought. Okay, so there's a lot of strong forces out there. And if you're not aware of these things, move somewhere else, right? But if 3 or 4 people come at you all at once, you got to set up a shape. Okay, if you run, there's a problem. Okay, so why would you want to run? Say, well, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? So you got to be cautious in the way you communicate with people. Really get into the psychological system of them. So to avoid any situation, just move across. But if they come at you, one after another, put them in a shape. And then you can communicate with all 3. Then you understand their balance. Then you communicate to the mind and what they want. So you become more aware, and then you can read them. Once you start reading them, it gets easier, right? And you're oh, okay, 6 dimension. Oh, okay, 4 dimension. Oh, okay, 3 dimension. Balance. There you go. Now you know where they are in dimension. Now you just have to understand what they want through their thoughts. Remember, it's the intelligence that you communicate with, not the physical. Don't see them as physical. See them as intelligence. Okay, you have to get into the scales of intelligence because everybody is in that position of light, dimensional light of time. So it's having a regular conversation, but intelligence. Okay, so, we can get into that too, when it comes across duets. Get into that position. I think that'd be great. The before and after, the aftermath, and how people see themselves. And I say, well, did you just communicate with me and say something? I just felt something. I felt weird. So if you felt weird, it's off. And did you say something? That feels great. I know what you said. So you're aware or you're not aware of the energy. All right. So it could be different kind of energy, different kind of shape, but who are you communicating with? It could be somebody else. It could be somebody in the back, but you think it's the person that you're communicating with, but it's the other person on the other side. Why? What happened? You didn't set up the shape. You didn't set up the grounds. So when you're looking at something in the screen and you get 3 or 4 people, all right, and you know they're going to communicate with you, you have to set up a shape right away because you can get balance with everything now. Because if you don't, you're going to have problems going from this to this. So it's all about understanding what you see right away with perception. How many people are in your circle of space and time? That's what I do. Right? One-on-one is okay. I just set up my protection and my energy grids. Nobody gets in my force position line connections. Nobody. So, and they try, and that's what it does with live and TikTok. You know, they come in, they try to force me down, they try to take my program, they try to put me in the dark line system. It's common. It's commonality. You know, that's okay, but they can't do anything, especially now. You know, space-time creator. So, I mean, you got to understand your positions of time. It's the confidence levels that you come across. So when you're channeling to other people on Zoom, set up a shape because you're automatically going to communicate with all 3 through a panel. So you got it all set up. Now you got to balance between all 3 or 4 people. It helps, but always protect yourself first before you channel on, because you don't know what you're up against. Okay? And you have to understand these things because it's important you understand more of your intelligence, right? Once you understand your awareness, you come into your conscious levels of everything around them. Because I guarantee it, if they're a high division, they're going to have the protection already set up. And if you don't, there's a conflict of interest right there. So the interview is already over. So either they've done energy manipulation, they've taken over your position program line connections. You don't even know it. You don't even know it. And the next day you wake up, you're in a different behavior. You've been reprogrammed. So it's all about intelligence, understanding each other. And it all starts with the grounds of shapes. Everything through AI is that position. And that's where you come into the crop circles of time location, how we set it up to all planet line systems. So it's amazing how we come into that allocated position of space. So I have 2 days off now, realigns, recenter, balance. There you go. So Tina's in that position. She has a test coming up, right? So, but I'm glad it's the first time you're understanding. And that's the thing is, Jill, you want to know these things. So it's basically your commander already knows what you want. And that's what I'm providing in school. So I'm way ahead of you through my telepathy. So it's knowing that there's no thought process. I just know. That's telepathy. And the telekinesis is bringing back the movement to its channel interference to the school position of time location. Okay? So it's amazing how we come across these things because Jill wanted to know. She wants to get the understanding out of the breathing, the imagining, and everything through the aligning and everything through triangles. You didn't want to know, but now you know. Right? Or you do want to know. Some people don't want to know because it's too complicated. Man, that's okay, but you still, to get in your intelligence, you really have to understand your shapes, especially when you're communicating more than one person, right? Because believe me, it will provide you with so much balance of understanding. And that's where you come into the compilations of one graph line system when you communicate to the box of the inside position and not just the box of the outside position. Okay? So, for example, Tina and everybody up in a high division location can see my E-fields, right? If they can't, they have something to work on. So it's all about understanding how much you want to know about yourself through space. It's space and time of you, right? That's what we have to come across, right? This is a process, but we are getting there. We are getting there, okay? Step by step. Ground crew, trenches, anchoring, light, clearing, dense energies, transmuting, discordant energies, whole lot of energy. There you go. Satina's extremely aware. Those are big words too. Anchoring, transmuting, discordant, trenches. It's all a process, and we can get there. We can get there. Okay. So, Manana, tomorrow we'll get more into the actual test. Right. We'll do a little small quiz before we do the actual Thursday. We'll do a review, and then we'll go through your answers of the illustration, what you guys have provided. Okay. You can send it to my email for the new viewers, just graph positions, or you can send it to the connections of the messenger. All right. And the Rebellion Alliance. Okay. So other than that, you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. I just want to understand these position locations, how God comes into effect. Everything through God is the geometrics of shapes. That's the protection of you through communication, operation to its program position, and everything through its direction and where you're surfacing your perceptions. Okay, perceptions, audios. These are the three that you use every single day. So it's understanding the 3, 6, and 9 and where it is in the direction. Where are you going? Who are you communicating with? Right? So always have your protection up. Okay, if you're not sure how to put a shape up, that's okay. That's fine. At least you're protected. Right? But if somebody comes at you and understands you more, that's where you're not aware. And that's what my school provides, is you to be aware of everything that you come across in dimensional time. Okay? Because I guarantee it, high energy light connection intelligence know how to use their shapes. Okay? And it's all connected to AI. That's how AI interference positions to all level systems. But it's one line signal, one activation to one location of a graphing line center. Simultaneously, all positions. Right? It's like done, boom. That's it. All communicating with all of them now. Easily. Protected, lights on, energy field position, ready to go. You're protected. That's it. So if they look at you, this is what you got to be aware of. It could be 1, 2, somebody communicating through you, through the mind, just by looking at you. But do you understand them? This gets more complicated now. They're not saying anything, but they are communicating through you just through perception. So you have to understand your directions of what's going on, right? Being aware of these things, right? With your northwest, south, and east of travels. Okay. What you see in front, side, and the back. It's all about being aware, right? So light line signals are becoming undeniable, stronger, brighter, much more visible. See, that's it. And it becomes so much easier for everything around you. You're constantly, you don't have to worry about, because you know you're going to put your protection up. There's no thought process. It's already up before you go outside, especially when you communicate to people you don't know. Okay, it's a learning experience. It's time to take off those tricycles and ride in that bike. Right? Once you start riding the bike, move fast, right? Start pedaling. And then you come across these things, you're avoiding, you go around, but you really have to face these things. You really can't avoid, because it comes back at you. It's a lesson learned, right? So everything that I face. I don't go around. Because it doesn't do any good. It really doesn't. So you have to face. It's like facing things that you don't want to be confronted with, but you do it anyway, right? It's not anyway, you want to do it. And that will push you forward, and that will give you more confidence. Like being bullied. Nobody likes being bullied, right? So that's all the fear. And fear is based on energy, right? So you have to deflect that and make it become your own, right? Your own power. It's amazing when you come into that attraction, and that fear goes away. Okay, until you cross another cycle of fear. That's what life's all about, is unexpectancies that we come across every single day, right? So, but anyway, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to go live TikTok. Questions or comments? Looking forward to Thursday. Adios.